All right, let's go to the championship, where, as we all expected, Pittsburgh is hosting Detroit City. We all had that one. Um, so with Detroit City, they take down yet another Players Shield winner. But unlike a couple years ago, where when the Pittsburgh won the Players Shield, and I think a lot of us said, "Look at this back line. Look, they have oh my God, Nate Steinwasser in net. There's a world where Detroit City can take down Pittsburgh." None of us thought about that about Louisville City. And then we get a kind of a vintage performance out of Detroit City, where Saldana has one of the best saves I've seen in playoff history, clawing one out of the top corner to keep it 1-0. And that was that. Now, there is probably a Lou City conversation to have here, but maybe not the time. There's Detroit City who's going to have to go into Highmark, and they've had a little success against them this year. But hey, Pittsburgh got a 2-0 win, then they drew, but then Detroit City got 1-0 in the Jägermeister. This one's absolutely fascinating.
I mean, we know what the story will be if Detroit advances. It's the defensive discipline. That's going to be the thing that carries them if they make a run. What's interesting, even compared to those three matchups that we've seen, is that Pittsburgh has become a more complete attacking team since Rob Vincent took charge. It's Danny Griffin pushing up through the midfield. It's those underlapping runs from Beto Idrak. Detroit hasn't faced a Pittsburgh team that looked like this. And to me, that's really meaningful. Pittsburgh has become a better threat without sacrificing any of the defensive excellence we always associate with them. I just don't even see, like, are you going to stop Etu and Mertz? How do you deal with all up in those pockets where he's just roving in zone 14? And I know they just did it against Louisville, but Pittsburgh is a little bit more pragmatic. They're more comfortable living in whatever the game state is going to be versus a Louisville team that wants to be in certain situations at all times. I doubted Detroit last week, so what do I know? But I really lean towards Pittsburgh here.
I kind of share the sentiment. I think something that struck me about the Louisville match was how Louisville, when they conceded, started treating it like it was the 90th minute for the next half or the next hour, where they were like, we have to score now, like we have to equalize immediately. And so they started playing sort of this like desperation ball, when it's like, hey guys, you have an hour, like you'll be fine, just like stick to your game. And they weren't comfortable in that game state. They just like they've trailed so few times this year, like on paper that's probably they just aren't used to playing like that. Pittsburgh, they strike me as a little bit less maybe flappable in that particular way. It's at Highmark. And yet Detroit City did this 2 years ago, right? Like they went into Highmark and won a game they had no business winning. So who are we, like you said, John, to doubt Detroit City at this point? And like logic still leans Riverhounds for this one.
I guess for me, this one feels like, can Augie Williams find Augie Williams? Can he be himself? Because, he has 9-10 goals on the season, but it doesn't feel like that. This doesn't feel like a vintage Augie Williams season. On the other side of that, can Darren Smith find the same kind of prowess he had earlier on this year? Can Jude find that kind of level to him that he did at Lexington? You're looking up top, because I don't think any of us are doubting this defensive midfield and back line. Even Saldana for Detroit City was a question mark for me all year long in net. And this is coming after Steinwasser, whom I think is the best goalie to play in the USL Championship. I really do. I think that highly of him. Saldana is going to be a step down, but he showed what he can be versus Lou City. Saldana keeps showing up versus the big teams in big moments that the back lines are going to be fine. It's can the attack do something? I'm looking over at an All, at a Mertz, at a Griffin, really getting into those spaces. And I really enjoy what I see going forward. But can they break down a Wheat? Can they break down a Bryant? Can they break down an Alma Williams? Even a Jay Chapman who likes to sit in deep just a little bit. I don't know. This one feels like it could be destined to once again go to PKs. And I know it's a cop-out, but even so, Saldana is well-versed in PKs, but so is Eric Dick. This is probably the most even matchup for me throughout all the playoffs. So, with that, John, who you got?
I just don't see Detroit scoring a goal in this game. So, by that logic, Pittsburgh.
Do you see Pittsburgh scoring a goal, though?
Yeah, I'm telling on myself by continually just picking against Detroit, but I think Pittsburgh's going to win like 2-0. Yeah.
Okay. Alex?
Yeah, I want it to be Detroit, but I think it's going to be Pittsburgh.
Phil?
Yeah, I'm gonna give the Northern Guard their red meat and pick Pittsburgh.
I'm also going to take Pittsburgh, but I'm really not happy about it. I'm really not. I just trust what they have going on in the attack just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Although if Darren Smith becomes April Darren Smith again, this could easily be Detroit City game. I don't know.
And really quick before we move on, I do just want to clarify the fact that I said that this would be the stupidest possible outcome if Detroit City beat Louisville. I still think that it's bad for USL that Louisville's not like this Louisville team doesn't get to keep playing. And Danny Dicchio and company are absolutely bad men for going into Louisville and getting a win. And credit to all of them. Because it was like the tallest task and they went and got it done. So shout out to them for pulling off what we all probably thought was basically impossible.
Absolutely. Hey, we got Tulsa versus Phoenix Rising. I think several people saw this one happening. Maybe not in the fashion that I did. Phil, we are.
Well, I mean,
El Paso,
since Phoenix got a bye into this round, like it was, that's it. And they obviously didn't play a game before this, so obviously we saw that side of it happening. It's weird that the 5 seed got a bye, but
USL and their crazy rules. FC Tulsa, we talked about Colorado Springs already, but they do get through. I don't know. For me, you see FC Tulsa, they've been so good all year long. You love what you're seeing on the pitch, but I cannot shake the feeling that Phoenix is still just a bad man when it comes to the playoffs.
Phoenix, since they changed into the back three formation, I think it's 4 weeks ago, they've given up like 1.9 XG across 4 games. They held El Paso to the least expected goals of any playoff team since they started tracking that stat in the USL, which, put aside the El Paso of it all, that is dominant defending, where you're suffocating the opposition. You are so comfortable in your low block. And I think Paul Mudaka has proven to be pretty flexible within this setup. For what you see on the lineup graphic, Rafael Shihus has played in the center for most of this new look. They put him on the left side against El Paso to take advantage of their narrowness and let him be that passer through the lines. Charlie Dennis and Darius Johnson at those kind of wing 10 spots, depending on who they're playing, one is going to be higher, one is going to be lower in the press. There is a level of intelligence to what Rising are doing right now that, frankly, we hadn't seen for the 30 weeks prior to the postseason. Tulsa, at the same time, they're the number 1 seed for a reason. they can win ugly like we saw against Colorado Springs. It's an odd situation here because my gut says Tulsa. I really trust what they're doing. Can they break Phoenix down? I think that's an open question.
Yeah, that for me is the like standout thing about this is Tulsa's goal scoring has just dried up a little bit, and that's where I get concerned. They've always found a way this year.
Yeah.
And it's basically the calculus we're doing for this one is like, is Tulsa's magic this year because it's their season and like they are the main characters of the story? Or is Phoenix doing Phoenix and hitting stride at exactly the right time when they can make this like magical run in the playoffs yet again? I don't know. I would say it's pretty balanced right now because the vibes in Phoenix are extremely good. But Tulsa also got a very energizing win in front of a packed One Oak, which was really, really cool to see. So going into Tulsa, I think will be a different sort of prospect for Phoenix than what they faced in El Paso, unfortunately.
Yeah, with Tulsa, I look at Kalira and I keep telling myself that he might be the best striker left in the playoffs on the championship side. But I also just I haven't seen it in a while now, where I know what I have seen, but I feel like I haven't truly seen it out of him recently. Meanwhile, John, you mentioned the solidity on the back line for Phoenix. I don't know if anybody's breaking them down. Someone that we don't talk about nearly enough, and I guess that's our fault, but JP Sears is also just kind of that guy, right? Defensively, he's solid, but he's also one of the better passers that you have in this league. He can make that line splitting ball. And let's say this one does go 1-1 all the way into extra time. We've seen this one before. We saw it in the U.S. Open Cup this year where Phoenix wins 4-2 on penalties. We've already seen this song and dance play out in a knockout tournament. I don't know. This one just once again feels very toss-up-y, and that is the magic of these playoffs where every team just feels so close to each other that I'm not sure what to make of it. I also find myself looking at the center back pairing of Ian and Batista, where I believe they've only played 4 games together all year long, not including last match. That's not what you want going into the playoffs. This is not a tried and tested center back pairing. And when you have a Hope Evievu, who was on my ballot for player of the year, by the way, I think he's that good. That's not what you want, even though playing him as striker and not the 10 is still weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, he's more of a false 9 anyway because they're just being weird right now. But yeah, that's not optimal. And I think it's going to be tough for Phoenix to score goals. That's really the downside of the new shape is the offense has dried up and it's never going to come easy against Tulsa. You're right to mention the chemistry at center back, but Ian, who they got in late September, it took a while to get him with the proper visa, whatnot, after the window ended. He's been unbelievably good in that back line. He brings some of that kind of attack dog energy that, frankly, Batista and AD Sissoko had together. The fact that they got somebody in that late and he's just hit the ground running is a major reason why, like, they, to me, are maybe the favorite of all teams left to go on and win this thing.
So, John, who you got?
So despite the fact that I was there for Patrick Krakowski doing the thing in a shootout in the Jägermeister Cup in April, I'm going to pick against Phoenix. I just feel like Tulsa's deep. Luke Spencer has been unreal. That environment at 1OK is legit. So yeah, FC Tulsa.
Alex?
Yeah, I'm also going to say a close 1-0 victory for Tulsa with another goal from super sub Stefan Lukic.
Phil?
Yeah, I'm going Tulsa. I just think they've got the juice right now, and going into ONEOK is going to be a tall task for any team. And so I'm back in the birds. Wait, which bird? The
Firebird, flying
split
bird,
tail,
scissor tail.
scissor tail. My bad.
Yeah. I think I saw One Oak was at 95% capacity, by the way, this last match, and it felt every bit of it on TV. Just absolutely incredible atmosphere. If they get that same kind of atmosphere, a part of me feels like Phoenix plays up to that, and that scares me a little bit more for Tulsa, but maybe that's because I live in Phoenix sphere. I'm still going to go Tulsa, though. I think they're the most complete team left in the playoffs on the championship side. Aforementioned North Carolina FC. We talked a lot about this.
Oh, just kidding.
Sorry. The question here, we can talk about the matches as they were. Rhode Island doesn't know how to score, but they have one of the best back lines we've seen, or best defenses we've seen in the USL this year. They just don't know how to score. The North Carolina has goal scorers, and boy, did they shut up shop versus Loudoun. But what North Carolina is going to come out? Is there going to be North Carolina that's literally fighting for their jobs because this is their final audition to get a new contract? Or are they going to be under the weather? Is things going to get sad? I talked about it on Soccer Down Here, which is going to air tomorrow, but we saw it with Phoenix versus San Diego Loyal. When Phoenix won, you felt it in the stands of everybody saying, oh God, it's happening. Like, this is over. It's happening. And the way the energy shifted in the stadium, you saw it on the players. Now, maybe you have a Conway who experienced that, is able to get the team to overcome that a little bit. But I don't know. This is going to be a fascinating test of this North Carolina team, especially if they go down. How will the fans react? How will the players react if they go down 1-0 to Rhode Island at any point?
Well, you're right to point out, like, even if they don't play, having Evan Conway and Colin Martin in that changing room, I think is really going to be useful for them in this moment. I just have a tough time looking away from what Rhode Island did in the last round. I have spent most of 2025 being pretty perplexed whenever the lineup graphic comes out for Rhode Island. Kano has made some choices with player deployments that have flummoxed me throughout the season. And every single decision he made in that Charleston game was pitch perfect. The use of Holstad as that kind of number 10 right winger really made it hard for Aaron Malloy to find pockets. Bacharach and Harivo cover so much space in the midfield, and both are so good in those post-recovery counter-press situations, keeping their foot on the ball and making sure Charleston couldn't take advantage. You could keep going on, but I think the fact of the matter is the game plan to shut down the battery and know that you're going to grit this thing out until added time was pretty savvy from Kano Smith. I anticipate it's going to be a little bit different here. These teams, as you mentioned above, they played pretty recently. North Carolina was in the 4-4-2 at that point, and they found some looks for Alex Anderson. It was gritty, kind of low block defending, try to get Rhode Island out of that comfort zone that they spent the entire match against the Battery in. To me, I think Rhode Island is going to be able to manipulate this game and get into the positions where they are best, but you can't count out the emotions, and I think that's what makes it so fascinating.
Before anybody jumps in really fast, I have no idea what's going to happen on this wingback side because Quizera gets sent off on straight red. So we may see Fuson drop into that wing back like we've seen him do in the past, or we could see Sanchez go there. Not really sure. So both options are listed at the wing back spot. So just kind of be aware of that.
Yeah. I think Rhode Island just feels a little more chaotic, which they use to their advantage in Charleston. they obviously, there's some repercussions from that. I do think Quizera is a big miss in this game, but I don't know. It's this one to me is like maybe the most toss up of all of them, just because North Carolina have the ability to like shut a game down and just make it about a single chance or a single moment. But that's what Rhode Island did against Charleston. So it feels very much like these are two teams that are going to try to do similar things. That being said, I think I'd probably just about shade toward Rhode Island in that I feel like they can move North Carolina around a lot more than Loudon managed to do, unfortunately. So yeah, and RIP the Lads Protocol 2025. Loudon did that one more time for us, but unfortunately could not keep it going. So yeah, I don't know. This is a very fascinating matchup, but it'll be interesting to see how Quizera's suspension impacts it.
Yeah, I've noticed that Rhode Island through the regular season did have trouble scoring goals on teams that are above the the bottom of the table. So yeah, that 26 goals all year. Wow.
Yeah. With all that said, John, who you got?
Rhode Island.
Alex?
Man, I think NCFC has one more in them.
Phil?
I'm nothing if not pandering. So for all the homies in the chat, I'm going Rhode Island.
I'm going to go Rhode Island. I think they are going to shut up shop defensively from the get-go. And I don't know. I feel like if Rhode Island gets one goal, I think you're about to start to see like sad North Carolina fans, and the vibe is just going to be weird, just really weird. So I'm going to go with Rhode Island. Last but not least, we have New Mexico taking on Orange County. New Mexico with the biggest blowout of the weekend. They get a 2-0 win over San Antonio. And Orange County, hey, let me make sure I got his name right. Is it Komodo?
Cadona.
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 Thank you.
I think.
Cadona.
Yeah.
Cadona. He comes in and is the penalty savior. And this is a fascinating matchup for me because we look at the names on paper for New Mexico, and I'm loving every single name that I'm seeing. But Orange County was my personal pick to win the West coming into this season, and there's not much that's different. So what's going to happen? Are we going to see a Sanchez team really turn the corner and make it to that Western Conference final like we saw last year? Or is Orange County finally getting it together and finally putting something where they are who I thought they were?
I think amidst all the upsets, it got lost that New Mexico absolutely eviscerated San Antonio.
Yeah.
Like, that was by a mile the best performance of the weekend. If they look half that sharp this Saturday, Orange County is going to have a very tough time. And that's nothing against Orange County, who did really well to shut Sacramento down. But the versatility, the variety of New Mexico's attack when it's really flowing, I don't think there's a defense in the West that can stop it. So then what's the scenario for Orange County? You defend in the 4-4-2. You need Traeger and Jamison to come good on the counterattack. Those two had their moments against the Republic, didn't really have the end product close to goal. Need a little bit more risk-taking. That was very much we're going to see this thing out being defensive-minded. That's not going to fly given what we know New Mexico can do in the final third. So love to see some bravery on Orange County's side if they want to pull this thing off.
Yeah, as much as it pains me to say, this New Mexico, for as much as they have not, I want to be clear, I haven't changed the fact that up until this point, they have not impressed me for large parts of the season. It hasn't clicked to this degree. And against San Antonio, it clicked. Like, this was what it was supposed to look like most of the season. I'm very concerned for Orange County. I'll just say that. I think like this is going to be extremely difficult. Like you said, John, I don't think they can afford to sit back. I think they've got to be bold. And the danger of that is they can get scythed apart like San Antonio did in parts of this match. I'm very I think New Mexico put together the most complete opening round of anybody. Probably on either side of the bracket. And I just think that where they're at right now, if they continue riding the energy of that first win, they are probably, well, they're making it to the West Final. We'll see what happens from there. But yeah, it's this is I don't know. This is a very, very tall task for Orange County. I'll just say that.
And they came in there 3 weeks ago and put in 3 goals. They came in 3 weeks ago and put up 3 goals at New Mexico.
With 3 assists from Chris Heggart, who will not be playing in this game because of the red card. That, to me, is really going to be a game changer for Orange County. It wrecks what they try to do in possession. I suspect it'll be Usman Silla on that left side, kind of playing tucked in. He's been their late game super sub, but the level of technique and creativity he has is the closest thing they can use to recreate Heggart. But yeah, missing him in this matchup is going to be a huge hurdle.
For me, I am looking at Orange County, and obviously the attack is right to point out here. I don't think there's a world where Orange County can walk away with winning this win 1-0 or even 2-1. I think that they have to get 3 goals. So you're looking at a Jameson, you're looking at Traeger, you're looking at Zubak saying, what can you give us? But if they're going to hold on, I'm looking at Benalcazar, and he has been one of the most impressive players in the USL for me. When we talked to Danny Stone earlier this year, he was someone that was slotting in the central of the midfield. He was someone sitting in the defensive mid. He was someone who has gone back to being a center back, just up and down the pitch. A really good ball-playing center back like that is someone that you want to be able to take down in New Mexico. So that could be someone that you're looking at who maybe he can play through a little bit of a pressure, find those passes, draw in the defense just a little bit, and then make the pass to the pass. And is he going to be able to do that 3 times? I don't think so. But I still think that might be the person to circle if you're Orange County trying to find a path into this. Not so quietly, and to Tamara, who's in the chat, I'm sorry for saying this. I am not so quietly hoping that the lab gets to host something like one of these big matches, because it is the atmosphere is absolutely unbelievable. The pitch, not amazing, but the atmosphere is absolutely unbelievable. And if you're a neutral and you have not watched a New Mexico United match, just put it on. You're going to be stunned at the atmosphere out there. John, who you got?
New Mexico.
Alex?
Yeah, New Mexico is they're too deep, and they're New Mexico.
Phil, blink twice if you need help.
I'm going New Mexico. The one little asterisk I'm putting on this is goalkeeping wise, edge Orange County. Like Shuttler, if it came down to it, Shuttler versus Shakes. Shuttler is I'm definitely putting my money on him.
Shuttler. It would not be Shuttler because
in a shootout. Yeah, they would go Cardano, I guess.
Yeah,
Cardano.
Yeah, I guess not. But either way, Cardano too. So goalkeeping
for 120 minutes in the run of play, you take Colin Shuttler every day.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's also the concern. Is like Shakes had a good game against San Antonio, don't get me wrong. And to me, he is like a bit of a liability. So I think that that's the only like thing that I look at this New Mexico team and say, like, could they potentially got it would be something in that department.
I'm also going to go with New Mexico. Maybe this is the year. We've been saying it for several years now, but hey, the path is right there in front of them. So with all that,